Welcome back, guys. You're listening to Ebird Online, and I'm here with the final part from this week's episode of Before the 90 Days. Secret, secret, I've got a secret. This is season 3, episode 6. And in this final part, we're going to tackle the delights that are Rebecca and Zied, Omar and Avery, and Tim and Jennifer. I can't say enough thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please just press the red button and you'll make Ebird's day. Also, don't forget to press the like button and we're ready to go. First up, Rebecca and Zied. So we meet them in the car driving on the way to Zied's parents. Rebecca seems extremely nervous, as well she might be. She tells us his parents are very strict conservative Muslims. So before we arrive, Rebecca, let's very quickly recap on what we're not allowed to say. We're not allowed to talk about the following: drinking alcohol, sleeping in the same bed as Zied, your 2 tattoo sleeves, marriages 1 through 3, the fact that you are still married, your penchant for Photoshop, sending your lingerie shots, Morocco, anybody that you know there, or why you ever went there, the fact that you have grandchildren, who paid for the car rental, and allegedly looking sexy. So remember those few things, and if I don't find out any of those things, it's a slam dunk. So Rebecca walks in and she's wearing her Muslim clothes. She must have been somewhat restricted by the bib, because the moment she walks in, she somehow manages to break an old piece of crockery. Somehow, Zied and his family managed to convince Rebecca that this is in fact a priceless artifact. Rebecca, do you know the meaning of the word priceless? Rebecca, you're priceless. Rebecca didn't know what to do after smashing the old crock, much like Zied that morning. They sat down to eat supper, and it looked as if they had couscous and some sort of meat. Actually looked quite nice. And Baba Zied asked Rebecca if she'd ever eaten couscous. I mean, I don't know about America, but couscous is quite popular in England, so I don't even feel like that's that valid a question. I think pretty much everybody's probably eaten it. Or cuckoo, as my mother called it, and that is no word of a lie. I'll have the cuckoo. Mama Ebird's priceless too. And so, breaking the first 2 of the rules, Rebecca awkwardly says, "Yes, I had it in Morocco." He didn't ask where you had it. He just said, "Have you ever had couscous?" You just had to say, "Yes, I have, it's lovely, thanks." Or even lie, "No, I've never had it." Oh dear, Rebecca. You find it so easy to lie when it's super important, like being married. But then it's really difficult for you to tell a lie when it's so unimportant, like eating couscous. Straight away the father said, why was she in Morocco? And Zied reluctantly explained that her ex-husband was in Morocco, and her parents were let in on the fact that she'd been married previously. And then Rebecca tells us, as I was sipping on my drink, my sleeve must have came down, and they saw the tattoos. Rebecca, the tattoos are all the way down your arms and practically onto your wrists. The only way Baba Zied was not going to see your tattoos, Rebecca, was if you poked his eyes out on your way into his apartment. His father asks Zied, can these tattoos be removed? And here's what you do when you're lying, Rebecca. You do what Syed did. Yes, of course they can be removed. You tell a lie that's not a lie. All tattoos can be removed. And factually, he's right. All tattoos can be removed. However, it would be so painful and so scarring to try to remove Rebecca's. It would be functionally impossible, but not actually impossible. So his parents went away, imagining that the tattoos might at some point be gone. They never will. Later, after that tense and awkward dinner, Zied said he didn't want to lose his parents over the woman he wants to marry. And I found this statement really interesting because it tells us exactly where Syed is with the whole thing. He's only just met Rebecca. They've already had one massive argument, and I don't really think things have gone that well for them. And I don't feel as if they've got loads in common either. Nevertheless, he doesn't want to lose his parents over the woman he wants to marry. This tells me that Zied has already decided mentally to jog the parents on if they're not happy with his choice of bride. So I think in Zied we have a come what may attitude. No matter what, he'll marry Rebecca and move to the US. His mum says he's my only son and I want him to be happy, but I don't want to lose him. If I'm honest, I think he'll lose him for about 6 years max. I think he'll go to America. I think he'll work like a dog. I think he will get his papers. I think he'll send you money back. But something tells me Zied will be back in Tunisia with the £6,000 that he needs to set up his shop with his little football friend. That's what I think. You heard it here first. No, I don't know, but I know that he's not in love with Rebecca. that's for sure. And so after the second most awkward dinner on 90 days, they retired to bed, and they both stayed in separate rooms in single beds. Rebecca said it's a culture shock to see how they live. And as Zied's talking to his mum, she tells him she wishes that he was going out with somebody his own age. She also wishes he was going out with somebody without 2 full tattoo sleeves. And after this damning indictment, Zied takes the opportunity to tell his mum he plans to marry her. Forgetting the issues in the bar, Zied tells his mum Rebecca and he are very happy. He wants to spend the rest of his life with her. And for the rest of his life, i.e. 4 years, the time it takes to get your green card. And there we leave Rebecca and Zied until next week. Next up, Tim and Jennifer. Oh, Tim. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. I'm not the biggest fan of Jennifer, but I'll say one thing. She is as sharp as a tack. Did you think you could do anything, and Jennifer wasn't going to 1. Pick up on it, 2. Call you out on it, and 3. Act crazy over it? If you did, you didn't know Jennifer. And we meet them getting out of bed. Tim's still fully dressed, and Tim tells us that he didn't sleep with Jennifer, and they must have been really tired because he fell straight to sleep. He offers Jennifer breakfast, and he makes eggs without salt. Tim, I know you said you couldn't cook, but I didn't think that meant you were a bloody idiot. As he's making breakfast, Jennifer muses over how strange it is for Tim not to try it on with her. Not even a little bit. She said he didn't even try to touch her. And once again, Jennifer indulges in imputation of homosexuality. Jennifer just does not think Tim's masculine enough. But in a desperate bid to prove her right, Tim then begins a conversation too awkward to repeat on moving the relationship forward, and on sexuality, and on kissing. I really don't want to put my brain back to where I was when I watched that, because the cringe level was far too high for me to deal with. So I'll just tell you Jennifer's response. She looked at Tim as if to say, is there a village somewhere missing their idiot? Because I've got him right here. Tim, less talking, more doing. You don't need to ask me for a kiss, just do it. And Tim obviously has a giant brain, but he doesn't seem to use it as often as he might. Jennifer then tells Tim, you smell really bad. Jennifer really is a mixture of insolence and bad manners, and Tim runs off for a shower. They're going later to meet her grandparents for the first time, and Jennifer tells us family is everything, and there's a lot of pressure on Tim. I actually don't think there is. Much like Akinyi's family, I think Tim will be able to buy them for 10 shekels, and I really don't believe that Jennifer listens to her grandparents in any meaningful way. So one of my subscribers actually said about Jennifer, if her grandparents were so persuasive, why didn't they stop her from getting all the tattoos? And why don't they stop her from wearing the clothes of a lady of the night? And I find that to be very true. So as Tim walks in to see her grandparents, he reverts to the unconfident child that he still is. He tells them he's a good man with a good heart, and they ask, but how can we trust you? And they tell them that they think the two of them should take things slowly. Well, it took them 8 months for their first date, so I guess that's about as slow as it gets. And then the bombshell. They ask Tim if he's ever been to Colombia before. Yes, I've been 5 times. He says he came to visit friends, and Jennifer is as shocked AF. So Tim explains to us that he had an ex-girlfriend who was Colombian, and that he likes Colombian girls. Tim, we know. He says he realises that Jennifer doesn't know that he's been to Colombia 5 times. He said he felt bad for lying, but he had an ex-girlfriend whom he went out with for 2 years, and they lived together, and during that time he went to Colombia with her 5 times to meet her family and friends. Why did they split up, I hear you ask? Well, he didn't say. He just said one day it just ended. He didn't tell us, the viewer, why it ended, but I bet Veronica knows just why it ended. And if that wasn't enough, he tells us he got a random text today, and in keeping with his recent dim-wittery, he has decided to tell Jennifer about the text. So they leave the grandparents' house, and they're now sitting in a restaurant, or in fact not a restaurant, I'd say it's a cafe of some sort. And Jennifer is tearing strips off him. She wants to know why he didn't tell her that he'd been to Colombia. And really, given that it was all way before her, why didn't you say? I still think there's more to this story than meets the eye. I still think that Tim is not telling us the full truth. I think that we've got 30 or 40% of the truth. Jennifer then demands to see his phone. So he gives the phone, and there's a text from this girl, and it just says something like, "Hi baby." But what is she saved in the phone as? Mommy. And I had to look this up to find out what exactly it meant, but it means sexy baby. Tim! What is wrong with you? At the moment you said she texts today, you should have already changed her name in the phone. You knew this would cause fireworks. Well, Jennifer, she shouted, she screamed, she let him know he was unhappy, and then she swilled him right in the middle of the restaurant. Tim, I'm really not for swilling people in public places. I think it's very classless. However, I feel on this occasion it was completely deserved. You sat there as casual as you like, saying, "Yeah, I've been to Colombia many times before." You've been hanging out with Jennifer for the last, 5 days maybe, and you've failed to mention this. That's rude, it's secretive, and it tells me that you're hiding something. I don't know what it is yet, guys, but as soon as I find out, you guys will be the first to know. He tells us he really wants to fix this relationship. Tim, there was actually nothing to fix if you just told the truth as you went along. When you first met this girl, before you'd even been to Colombia, you should have said, "Yeah, I've been before. Oh, my ex was Colombian. She was from America, but we holidayed in Colombia." It's no big deal at this point. You could have either kept quiet about the text, or if you were going to tell her, at least don't have her saved in your phone as sexy baby. And I think it's terrible for Jennifer, because like I said a couple of weeks ago, this whole Colombian obsession that he seems to have, these girls are interchangeable, and I believe if this one pees him off too much, he'll walk down the road and find her doppelganger, and off he'll ride into the sunset with that girl and the Lamborghini. And finally for this week, we are going to be talking about Avery and Omar. Their storyline's starting to amuse me. We're starting to see different sides of Omar. And I've got to admit, Avery does seem so headstrong. I've got a ridiculous feeling that she might actually try to go and live in Syria. And I think Terri's very headstrong too. And I think there's going to be the tussle of the century. But incidentally, my money's on Terri to win. So we first see Terri and Avery in the hotel room, and she's telling us Omar has something he wants to talk to Terri about without Avery being there, and she wonders what it can be. Omar and Terri go out to a restaurant and they walk down a beautiful street, and Lebanon really is very pretty. Say what you want about Colonel Gaddafi, I usually do. He knew how to maintain his gaff. They sat down, and before she even gave Omar time to draw breath, Terri said, "What do you want?" Omar explained that he took her out so they could discuss Avery's dowry. Now this is a new kind of dowry that I hadn't heard of. So it's a dowry that gets paid in case of divorce or death to the wife or the wife's family to keep the children, etc, etc. If any of my subscribers know anything about this, please do let me know, because I've not heard of this kind of dowry before, and I have looked on Google. Unfortunately, as is the way with Google, it says lots and lots of different things. Maybe it's different for Sunnis and Shiites and so on. I don't know. But anyway, as soon as Terri heard the word divorce, and she said, "I don't want you to get a divorce. Divorce is traumatizing." 1, it depends on who you ask, Terri. Some people are quite keen. 2, he's just said death or divorce, and you jump on divorce as the most traumatizing thing. So are you saying you don't mind if Omar is no longer with us? And he explains that this payment is usually about 8% of the person's annual salary. Omar, you're still at school. 8% of nothing is nothing. At first, Terri tells us she doesn't want to be culturally insensitive. I'm so sorry. It's very interesting to me that Terri even understood that concept. And then she said she didn't want to put a price on her daughter's head, but she starts out at $10,000 and she settles for $6,000. Terri, that's a price. She asked Omar how much his sister got, and Omar says $6,000. So Terri says, "Well, I'll go for $6,000 then." Terri, does his sister live in the US? I bet she doesn't. She lives in Syria. Maybe $6,000 in Syria is enough to get by on. It's certainly not anything in the United States. Hear this, Omar. If you have children with Avery and you decide you want to divorce her, you will not just be giving $6,000. You will be giving $6,000 a year minimum for the rest of the days that you draw breath. I hope I've not got this wrong, otherwise I'm going to look mighty stupid, but if he thinks he's going to pay £6,000 and skip off, he can think again. So after establishing a price for her daughter, Omar, in a roundabout way, tells Terri that he and Avery want to be together after they're married. And Terri says, "You cannot take Avery to another place to live. I won't let that happen." But instead of telling Terri that Avery can't wait to get to post-apocalyptic Syria, he merely says, "Avery and I will decide where we live." Again, Omar, "No you won't. You're not working, you have no money. Avery's not working, she has no money. The person that's funding the ridiculousness that you guys are going on with sits in front of you. And so I think you'll find that she will decide." And poor old Terri is still none the wiser that Avery plans to go to Syria. I keep thinking, if they really do want to be together, why can't they be together in Lebanon? It seems absolutely quite lovely. I don't know why that can't happen. They're both there now. So lots of my subscribers keep getting into my comments and saying, Avery's an adult. I don't care how old Avery is. If Avery's making bad decisions, it is incumbent upon her parents to try to guide her in the right direction. If I had a friend, even if that friend was 40, and the friend said, "I'm going to live in Syria with my new Syrian boyfriend who I've never met," you had better believe I would be stopping her. I wouldn't be trying to stop her, I would stop her. And although I know that makes me a meddling little brat, sometimes things are so serious that you do just have to step in. It's not easy being a parent, but I bet it's easier if your kid isn't living in a war zone with a student. Guys, thanks again for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe, and please don't forget to put all your comments down below. I am reading, and let me know what you think. Do you think Zied's going to go to America at any cost? And most of all, do you think that Jennifer was right to be upset about Tim's subterfuge? That's all for now. I'll see you next week. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.